Hey kid, don't ever let them get inside your head. They'll tell you what to do in life instead of everything you know that you could get. Don't let them guide your life towards regret. I'll fight for what I love with every breath. My past is filled with things I won't forget. I use them all to push me to my best. So treat the worst of times just like a test. If only I could go back in time, I'd tell myself that everything will end up alright. Just push yourself, test yourself, figure out what you like, and find your limits, don't be rigid, always work towards a prime. Surround yourself with open minds, people can change your life. A few friends with intent can help you feel alive. Find a passion, take some action, and with a little time, just be patient, make a statement, try to enjoy your life. They'll try to kick you while you're down. They wanna rise up while you drown. They wanna fill your head with doubt. They're silently scared that you'll figure it out. I'll make it look like I'm losing, won't bother hiding my bruises. And when they finally think you're wounded, then it's your chance to be ruthless. I can see that they compare. I think everyone's against me, maybe something in the air. Am I paranoid? I swear a void is forming and they're scared. I walk a straight path, not many can say that. I like to play fast, cross me and there's payback. You better pray that I don't see your face at any place that I go. I know you hate that. I've been doing fine, I'm not wasting any more time. I live for the fight and the climb, and I think that the pain that's deep inside is what defines. So I won't give up, I'm gonna make it to the top. I don't care what's in my way, I swear I'm never gonna stop. I could fall flat on my face and I swear I will get back up, cause I don't deserve a thing and the road ahead is tough. They'll try to kick you while you're down. They wanna rise up while you drown. They wanna fill your head with doubt. They're silently scared that you'll figure it out. I'll make it look like I'm losing, won't bother hiding my bruises. And when they finally think you're wounded, then it's your chance to be ruthless.
And now we are back in. This time we're going to get into testing out the cameras on the iPhone 12 mini. Okay, starting off the testing here, we're testing out the front-facing 12 megapixel camera in a nice stationary vlog style test. We're outside in shooting space number 1, and this is being recorded with the front-facing 12 megapixel camera in 1080p at 30 FPS with no external microphone hooked up. So let me know what you guys and gals think. Now let's spin the cameras around and let's get into testing out the rear-facing cameras in this same lighting scenario. Give me 1 second, I'll be right back with everyone for the next set of clips. I'll see you guys and gals in a little bit. All right, everyone, now here we go. As promised, we're gonna test out the rear-facing cameras on the iPhone 12 mini. So that's going to be the rear-facing ultra-wide 12 megapixel camera with a 120-degree field of view, and the rear-facing 12 megapixel primary camera with an 84-degree field of view. This is going to be recorded in 1080p at 30 FPS with no external microphone hooked up. So as always, please let me know what you guys and gals think of the overall video quality, the overall audio quality, and the overall stabilization. And without further ado, because we're chasing the sun, because it was so gorgeous today, I figured let me take a pause from the festivities and record some camera samples for everyone. But it is going to be dark in like half an hour, so I want to get this clip done before it gets too dark and we lose some daylight. But it feels amazing out here. But let's get into this test. So we're going to do all of our typical camera testing. We're going to do the pan test. We're going to do the exposure test. We're going to do the zoom test and the focus testing. All right. So let's get into it, and you guys and gals, let me know what you think. Starting off here, we're testing out the ultra wide camera with the 120 degree field of view. This is being recorded in 1080p, as I said, with no external microphone hooked up. So we're going to start off with our pans. So we're going to pan from here all the way through to right about there and back. We're going to do this 2 times. So that was number 1. Let's go on back. And here we go with number 2. And I gotta be extra stable because the ultra wide camera on the 12 mini does not have OIS. Only the primary cameras have OIS. All right, so that was 1 and that was 2. So, yep. Okay, come on back to the center. Let's switch to the primary now. And now we're on the primary 12 megapixel camera. This one has an 84 degree field of view. And let's redo the pan test again. We're gonna do it twice again. So we're gonna pan from here all the way through to there and back. So that was 1. Here we go with number 2. All right, and let's come back to the center. Boom, so that's it for the pan testing. Let's go back to the ultra wide now. And now let's do the exposure test. So we're gonna pan up and down to the ground and test out the exposure. And when we test out the exposure, we want ideally a nice even transition from the lighter areas of the scene to the darker areas of the scene with minimal to no exposure blowout. But if the cameras do blow out, we want them to recover as evenly and as quickly as possible. So let's see how the iPhone 12 mini cameras do. Let's start off with the ultra wide camera. So we're gonna be lined up on that tree in the center there, right there in the center. And we're gonna pan down, up and down 2 times. Here we go, here's number 1. So we're lined up and we're going down. And we're coming back up. That's 1, what do you think? Let's go again. Panning down, and we're coming back up. That's 2. What do you think? Now let me switch to the primary camera. So now we're on the primary 12 megapixel lens, and let's do it again. So panning down and coming back up. That's 1. Let's go again, panning down and coming back up. That's 2. What do you think? What do you guys and gals think? So that's it for the exposure test. Now let's do the focus testing. So we're gonna pick our 3 focal subjects here. So we're gonna use this pillar off to my right. We're gonna use the big tree in the center right there. And we're gonna use those bushes of trees off to the left. And we're going to test the ultra wide camera and the primary camera. We're gonna test continuous autofocus and then tap to focus as well. And one thing that I absolutely love about the iPhone is that everything you can do with the primary camera, you can do with the ultra wide camera. So focus, exposure, all that good stuff. If you could do it with one, you can do it with the other. The only difference between the primary and the ultra wide camera is that the primary has OIS and the ultra wide does not have OIS. So the primary has optical image stabilization and the ultra wide does not have optical image stabilization. For those of you who don't know what that means, okay? But let's get into the focus testing now. And again, the first one is going to be continuous autofocus. So we're gonna let the camera do all the work and we're gonna test this one 2 times. Okay, here we go. So pillar to the right, that looks really, really good. Tree in the center, that also looks really good. And bushes to the left, That also looks really good. Let's do it one more time. Pillar to the right. Good. Bushes or tree in the center, my mistake. Good. And bushes to the left. Good. All right, let me adjust my grip. Now we're gonna do tap to focus. Pillar to the right, tap, locked up. That was basically instant because we pretty much almost have perfect lighting out here right now. But that focus was almost instant lock on there. Good stuff. Tree in the center, tap, locked up. Again, instant focus lock right there. And then bushes all the way to the far left, tap, locked up. Again, instant focus lock right there. That was really, really good. And keep in mind, this is using the ultra wide cameras, right? Coming back over one more time. Pillar to the right, tap it, locked it up. A big exposure adjustment there. I don't know how well the camera's gonna pick it up and dial it in post, but based on what I saw through the viewfinder, that was a big exposure adjustment there, and it's kind of overexposing the background and the skies a little bit here, kind of blew it out. But the focusing speed was super duper fast, not bad. Tree in the center, tap, locked up, and you can see when I tap to lock up on the tree, then it dials in the exposure perfectly to what the scene actually is. So now that overexposed sky is gone and it's dialed in perfectly. And then bushes to the left, tap, locked up, and that was almost perfect exposure, perfect focus, nice and fast. Really good stuff with the ultra wide cameras, right? Good stuff there. So now let's switch down to the primaries and we're going to do it again. So I'm gonna tap anywhere to get the autofocus locked back on. So now we're back on autofocus and here we go with the same subjects. So pillar to the right, that looks really, really good. Tree in the center, that does also look really, really good. And I don't know if you guys and gals can see how the exposure automatically adjusted there, going from the bright pillar to the dark tree. I did see a minor exposure adjustment. I don't know how well y'all saw that. Y'all let me know down below in the comments. And then bushes to the left. That looks pretty much perfect right there. One more time. Pillar to the right. Oh yeah. It's really trying to adjust the exposure for that pillar. And when it does, it kind of overexposes the skies in the background when it does that. So the skies get really blown out when it tries to expose for the color accuracy for the pillar right here. But really good focus overall. Tree in the center. And then it dials in the exposure when we get to the tree in the center. And then the exposure is pretty much perfect to the scene. Not bad, Apple. Not bad at all. And then bushes to the left. Nice, nice. Nice, nice. All right, let me adjust my grip. And now we're going to do tap to focus. So pillar, tap, locked up. Good stuff there. And that time, it kind of did a better job adjusting for the sky in the background because it didn't blow out the sky. So not bad. Okay. Tree in the center, tap, locked up. That looks really, really good. Bushes to the left, tap, locked up. That also looks really, really good. Not bad at all. But then again, this is the primary camera. This is the best camera on the device. So I would expect nothing the less. Let's do it one more time. Pillar to the left, to the right, my mistake. Tap, locked up. And that time it overexposed the skies again. So it's kind of hit or miss. Okay? Tree in the center, tap, locked up. And that time it locked in the sky perfectly. And then bushes to the left, tap, locked up, and it locked that in perfectly. Good stuff there indeed. Now, to close out this camera test, we're gonna close out with a zoom test, and we're gonna zoom all the way to the top of that tree in the distance there. It kind of lines up with the top of the house in the distance as well. So we're gonna lock the focus, lock it in, so we got focus lock. We're gonna dial in the exposure to make it perfect. Boom. And now our focus is locked and our exposure is locked. And we're gonna go from ultra wide to primary all the way through. And I'm gonna give y'all some tips as we go through. So let's do this. Coming out to the ultra wide, okay? So this is at 0.5 times zoom. Okay, now let's zoom in. All right, this is at 0.9 times zoom. This is my favorite zoom range to use with the ultra wide. And if you're a ultra wide camera fanatic like I am, this is what I would recommend. So 0.9 times zoom. That looks really, really good. Okay, let's keep going now. 1 time zoom. Now we're on the primary sensor. And that looks really, really good. Let's keep going. 1.5 times zoom right here. That still looks amazing. Let's keep going. 2.5 times zoom right here. And I gotta say, it's a little bit washed out here, but the detail is still more than usable right here. And this is why I recommend if you're gonna zoom, you don't zoom past 2.5 times. If you do need to get closer to your subject after this point, you would physically need to move closer to your subject. But let's keep going now. So 3 times zoom is the maximum here. So that's as far as you can go when you're recording video, up to 3 times zoom. All right, that's not bad. That's not bad at all. Let's take it back to the ultra wide. And now we're back on the ultra wide sensor. So this concludes the first set of tests with the cameras on the iPhone 12 mini. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to run inside and we're gonna redo the testing indoors in daytime low light scenarios here. And this really is gonna be super low light because we're actually running out of overall daylight to use. But give me a little bit, I'm gonna come right back with everyone for the indoor daytime low light test. I'll see you guys and gals in a little bit. All right, everyone, and now we're testing out the cameras on the iPhone 12 mini indoors in daytime low light lighting scenarios here. And starting off the testing, here is an example of the front-facing 12 megapixel camera in that low light daytime scenario. This is also being recorded in 1080p at 30 FPS with no external microphone hooked up. So as always, please let me know what you guys and gals think of the overall video quality, the overall stabilization, and the overall audio performance. As always, all of your feedback is greatly appreciated. Now, let me go ahead and spin the cameras around and we'll get into testing out the rear-facing 12 megapixel cameras in this same indoor daytime low light scenario. All right, give me a little bit. I'll be right back with everyone for the next set of clips. I'll see you guys and gals in a little bit. All right, everyone. As promised now, we're testing out the rear-facing cameras on the iPhone 12 mini in an indoor daytime low-light test. So we're going to get ready to test out the ultra-wide and primary cameras here on the 12 mini. And this also will be recorded in 1080p at 30 FPS with no external microphone hooked up. So let me do some quick verifications for everyone, and then we'll jump straight into the testing. So you guys and gals can see here, if I pan over this way, that this is indeed an indoor daytime low light test. So you can see my studio lights are turned off, my smart lights are turned off. The only light we have lighting up the scene here today is the natural sunlight coming in through my window. So this is indeed an indoor daytime low light test. I just want to verify that for everyone here. Okay, now let me angle this up in the traditional reviewer style angle here. And we can get into the testing. All right, so that looks good. Let me angle it down. Yeah, that looks perfect. And now you guys and gals can see what the ultra wide camera would look like in indoor daytime low light settings here. Okay, and you can definitely see it's definitely struggling in this low light scenario here. So you definitely want to use the ultra wide only when you have really good to great lighting, because in lower light scenarios it's really going to struggle. So I don't think we really got to test the ultra wide any more than that. But let's switch down to the primary now. And you can see the primary does a noticeably better job in low light, but notice the difference in the field of view. So let me go back to the ultra wide. Look at how much more we can get in the shot. And then when I switch to the primary, look at how much more we lost in the shot, but we gained in overall detail and resolution. So you really gotta, take your trade-offs and be willing to work with your cameras. So you can see as I angle it up in a similar angle here, okay? So this is basically lined up in a similar fashion to how the ultra wide was. And now let's check out the performance of the primary cameras in low light here. So check this out. Let me know how readable and how legible are the keys on my keyboard here. Now this is actually really, really good. Really, really good. I can easily read that. Let me know what you guys and gals think. Let me pan it through. What do you think? Pan it back through. What do you think? Press this down. What do you think? Now, let me grab my focal subject that we always use in this test. So I got my oldie but a goodie S7 active right here. And let's see how good the primary cameras lock on that focus and pull out the details. So what do you think? How good is it doing pulling out the stipple pattern on the back of the device? What do you think? Now let's go into some smaller text. How good and how legible are the readability of those keys or text? Now it's readable, but it's definitely struggling in this lower light scenario here. What do y'all think? Now I can read that, but it definitely needs a little bit more light, but I can read that. What do y'all think? And then look how it blurred out the background here. So look how it gives you that nice shallow depth of field in the background. So really trying to dial in the focal subject. Now let's see how quickly it relocks focus on my keyboard in the background when I take the phone out. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Oh, it did a surprisingly really good job there. I was not expecting that. I was expecting it to struggle a little bit more here in this lower light scenario. So let's bring this back in. Let's bring my phone back in. See how it does relocking the focus. Oh, it did a surprisingly good job. Really good job here. I was expecting it to struggle a little bit more. Let's get back in on that smaller text at the bottom. What do y'all think there? Not bad. Not bad at all. Let's take it out. Let's see how quickly it relocks focus one more time. 3, 2, 1, go. So, not bad. Not bad. Honestly, I was expecting it to struggle a little bit more after seeing how the ultra-wide struggled. I was expecting the primary camera to struggle, but the primary camera did a really good job in this indoor daytime low light scenario here. Let me know what you guys and gals think. Now, a little bit later on in the video, we're going to retest the cameras in indoor nighttime artificial light scenarios. We're going to do basically the same test, just a different light source, and see how the cameras perform. So it's going to be a couple hours for me, but it's going to be a couple seconds for you guys and gals. So I'll see you guys and gals in the next set of clips, and I can't wait to see what you guys and gals think. So I'll be back in a little bit. All right, everyone, and now we're testing out the cameras on the iPhone 12 mini in a nighttime artificial lighting scenario. And starting off the testing here, we're testing out the front-facing 12 megapixel camera in 1080p at 30 FPS with no external microphone hooked up in nighttime artificial lighting scenarios here. So let me know what y'all think of this real quick vlog style stationary test. Let me know what you guys and gals think of the overall audio, the overall stabilization, and the overall lighting and performance. Okay? Now, let me spin the cameras around and we'll get into testing out the rear 12 megapixel cameras in the same lighting scenario. Give me a little bit. I'll be right back with everyone for the next set of clips. I'll see y'all in a little bit. All right, everyone. Now, as promised, we're testing out the rear-facing and primary ultra-wide and primary 12 megapixel cameras on the iPhone 12 mini. This is once again in nighttime artificial lighting scenarios with no external audio hooked up, and this is also being recorded in 1080p at 30 FPS. All right. let me do some quick verifications for everyone, and then we'll jump into the testing of the cameras in this artificial lighting scenarios. So, if I pan over here, you guys and gals can see it is nighttime outside. You can see it's pitch black if we look out the window, but I'm not using my professional studio lights. I am, however, using my overhead and smart lights, however, okay? So this is indeed a nighttime artificial lighting camera test. I just wanted to do that quick verification for everyone. Now let me angle everything up in the traditional reviewer style angle, and we'll dive into some of the camera testing. Let's go. So if I pan it back this way, I want to get it straight on like that. And then we're going to angle it down like this. So now you guys and gals can see here is a sample or demonstration of the ultra wide cameras in this nighttime artificial lighting scenario. And I gotta say, the ultra wide cameras do a much better job in artificial light and natural good to great sunlight than they do in low light scenarios. So let's get into testing out the ultra wide and primary cameras now. And like I said earlier, one thing that I love about the iPhone cameras is that everything that the primary camera can do, the ultra wide camera can do. So we do have focus controls, exposure controls, all that good stuff with the ultra wide camera. But check out the detail that the ultra wide camera is able to pick up. So how legible or how readable are the keys on my keyboard here? Let me know down below in the comments. But this actually looks really, really good and more than legible or readable in my opinion. Okay? Let me know what you guys and gals think. Now, picking up one of my favorite of all time devices here, let's do some detail and focus testing with the ultra wide and primary cameras. So with the ultra wide cameras, how well do you guys and gals feel the ultra wide cameras are doing at picking up all the minute details off of the back of my S7 Active here? How well do you think it's doing at picking up the stipple pattern on the back of the device? Let me know down below. Now, if we try to lock in on the smaller text, yeah, you can see it's really struggling right there to lock in on that smaller text. So you definitely want to use the primary 12 megapixel sensor for better detail or smaller objects, because you can see it's definitely struggling to pick up that smaller text there. So we might as well not even continue the test. So let's switch down to the primary 12 megapixel camera now. And before I switch, I want y'all again to pay attention to the detail and the field of view. So notice with the ultra wide camera, we have a nice 120 degree field of view. But when I switch down to the primary camera, it's going to go from 120 degrees to 84 degrees. So you're going to notice a big difference in the field of view. But you're also going to notice a big difference in the elevation of the quality, right? Watch this. So this is the ultra wide, and I'm not going to move anything. This is the ultra wide, and here is the primary. Okay? Again, in the same position. I didn't reposition anything yet. So look at the difference in the field of view, but also look at the difference in the elevated quality between the two lenses, right? But now let's angle up the primary sensor in the same position that the ultra wide sensor was in. So let's back up a little bit and let me angle it down just a little bit, just like that. And now it looks very, very similar to what the ultra wide sensor was on. But once again, I want to show you one more time. This is the primary and this is the ultra wide. Look at how much more you get in the shot with the ultra wide. That's why I love it. Now, also why I love it is newer ultra wide sensors do give you the ability to pick up minute details with zoom. This one does not give you that ability, but still, I do love getting more in the shot. So now let's switch down to the primary sensor and let's do some more testing here. So now I'm gonna pick my keyboard back up, and look at how much more detail you pick up from the keys. Now this is more than legible and readable, but again, look at the difference in the field of view. So to get the whole thing in the frame, I really have to pan it through. But look at how it picks up the texture of the keys and the detail and all the minute reflections. Really, really good. Let me pan this through. And let me pan it back through. Really, really good there. Now, let me go back and pick up my S7 Active right here. And look at how much more detail we get on the back of the device. Look at how it does such a great job of picking up the stipple pattern. And it gives you that nice shallow depth of field in the background as well. Okay? And then let's go down to the smaller text now. And again, how readable and how legible is this? Okay? Once the light hits it just right, you guys should be able to read that no problem. Like right there, I can read that no problem. What do y'all think? Let me get y'all in nice and tight. How legible or how readable is that? Okay, y'all let me know down below in the comments. Now, how quickly can the primary sensor lock back up on focus on the keyboard when I take my device out of the frame? Let's test this twice before we wrap up this portion of the video. Ready? So I'm going to take my device out in 3, 2, 1. Boom. And look how quickly it locked up on focus on the keyboard and my tablet as well. Really, really fast. That's one thing that I have to say. The focus on the iPhone 12 mini, regardless of the lighting, is really, really fast. Okay? And you really don't have to help it. The autofocus does a great job. Let's bring the device back in one more time. And look at how quickly it locked back up on focus. Again, check out the detail there. Again, let's check out the smaller text there. Let me get y'all in nice and tight. And again, how readable or legible is this? Let me know down below. Now we're going to take the device out for one final time. 3, 2, 1, go. And look at how quickly it locks up on focus or relocks focus on my keyboard and tablet. Really good stuff there. Really good stuff indeed. All right, everyone. So this concludes the low light artificial lighting testing for all of the cameras on the iPhone 12 mini. And this concludes the 1080p 30 FPS testing for the iPhone 12 mini as well. Now, a little bit later on tomorrow, I'm going to shoot the final set of test clips in 4K at 30 FPS. And then I'm going to wrap up the video and let y'all know my thoughts on the iPhone 12 mini and how I feel about it, and if I can still recommend it here in late to early 2025 and into 2026. Okay, and spoiler alert, this really is a super solid device. It does have some shortcomings, but if you can work around those shortcomings, it is a really super solid device. But I'm going to get into that at the end of the video. Anyway, it's going to be a couple hours for me. It's going to be a couple seconds for you guys before we get into the final set of test clips, and I'll see you guys and gals in a little bit. All right, everyone. So now we're back in testing out the cameras on the iPhone 12 mini for the final time. We're out here in shooting space number 3, which is the big yard, and we're going to test out the cameras in 4K for one final time. Now, this will be shot and rendered in 4K because I want to see how well the M1 iPad renders and uploads 4K footage. So we'll see how that goes, because I know my Android tablet has a lot of trouble rendering 4K footage. That's why I typically render the 4K footage on my Android tablet in 2K. But this is going to be my first time fully editing a full 4K video on the iPad, and I'm very excited to see how it goes. Hopefully I don't have any issues. But let's dive into this final test on the cameras for the iPhone 12 mini. So we're going to do our pan test, we're going to do our focus test, we're going to do our exposure test, and we're going to round out the video with a zoom test, and then I'm going to close out the video with a front-facing sample for everyone and give y'all my closing thoughts as to how I feel about the device overall. All right, so without further ado, let's get into this final camera sample test. Let's go. So starting off here, we're going to start with the ultra wide cameras and we're going to do the pan test. So we're going to pan all the way from here, all the way through to right about there and back. We're going to do this 2 times. And I got to try and be as smooth as possible because the ultra wide camera does not have OIS. So it will pick up any minute shakes that my wrist does. So that's 1. Here we go with number 2. Okay. And that's 2 right there. Let's bring it back to the center. Now let me switch to the primary 12 megapixel camera and we'll do it again. So we're gonna do the same thing. Gonna pan from here all the way through to right about there and back. It's kind of hard to remember where to stop my wrist, especially with the big difference in field of view, but I got it. So that was 1. Here we go with number 2. Okay. And the beautiful thing about the main camera is it does have OIS, so this should be nice and smooth. All right, and that's 2. Let's come on back to the center. All right, we're gonna switch back to the ultra wide now, and we're gonna do the exposure test. So I'm sitting in the shade under my favorite tree, and as you can see, it's nice and sunny out there in the distance. So this should be a really good exposure test because we get to see how good the cameras handle the shifts in light. All right, and ideally when we test the exposure, we want a nice even transition from the lighter areas of the scene to the darker areas of the scene and vice versa, with minimal to no exposure blowout. And if the cameras do blow out, we want them to recover as evenly and as quickly as possible. So let's see how the ultra wide and primary cameras do on this exposure test, and also pay attention to the changes in the field of view and the detail retention and losses as we test both sets of cameras. We're gonna do it 2 times. So here we go. We're lined up on the tree in the center there, and we're gonna go down. All right, and we're gonna come back up. That's 1. Gonna do it 1 more time. We're gonna go down, and we're gonna come back up. That's 2. That's not bad. But now it's a beautiful day out here today. It's 79 degrees. It's beautiful out here. So this is basically the ideal day to shoot something outside. All right, at the ideal time, mind you. So this should actually be a perfect test because we have ideal lighting conditions. But that was the ultra wide cameras. Now let's switch down to the primary cameras and do the same test. So here we are on the primary 12 megapixel cameras here, and we're gonna pan down and we're gonna pan back up. That's 1. And we're gonna pan down again, and we're gonna pan back up. That's 2. That actually looked really good based on what I could see through the viewfinder. You guys and gals, let me know what you think. All right, now let's do the focus test. We're gonna test it both ways. So we're gonna do continuous autofocus first. So we're gonna let the phone handle everything, and then we're gonna do tap to focus, and we're gonna test both sets 2 times each. So let's start off with the ultra wide camera first here. Okay, and we're gonna pick out our 3 focal subjects. So we're gonna use this mango tree off to my right here. That's gonna be focal subject number 1. I'm gonna use the mango tree right in front of us right here. That's gonna be focal subject number 2. And then we're gonna use the big tree over the shed right there. That's gonna be focal subject number 3. All right, and you guys and gals, let me know how you feel the cameras do with this test. So here we go. I'm just gonna pan around for both of them, and y'all let me know what y'all think. So here we go. Mango tree to the right. That looks good. Mango tree in front. That also looks good. And then tree over the shed. That also looks good. One more time. Mango tree to the right. Looking good. Mango tree in front. Also looking good. And then tree over the shed. Good stuff. Good stuff. Now let me adjust my grip. And we'll do the tap to focus here. So mango tree to the right. Tap. Locked up is basically instant. Good stuff there. Now I am noticing it's kind of overexposing the sky a little bit when I use tap to focus. So you see how the sky is kind of blowing out a little bit. You can see that. I don't know how well y'all can see that, but still really quick overall focus with the ultra wide camera. Mango tree to the center, tap, locked up, and then it adjusts very, very nicely for the center frame tree. And you can see the overexposure in the sky is gone. So now it perfectly lights the sky. So I don't know why it makes such a big difference having this tree to my right as a focal subject versus that tree in front of me, but it's doing what it does. Okay. And then finally, tree over the shed, tap, locked up. Good stuff right there. Good stuff right there indeed. Let's do it one more time. So mango tree to the right, tap, locked up, and again it's doing it again. You can see it's overexposing those skies there. I don't know why it's doing that. And it's also overexposing these skies right here, but still really, really fast focus. Mango tree in the center, tap, locked up, and then it dials in the sky perfectly when I lock in on the center tree. But overall really fast focus there. And then tree over the shed, tap, locked up. Good stuff there. Good stuff there indeed. Now let's switch to the primary cameras and let's put it back in autofocus mode. So I'm gonna tap anywhere on the screen, get it back on autofocus, and we're gonna let the camera do all the work now. Here we go. So mango tree to the right, that looks pretty good. Mango tree in the center, that also looks pretty good. And then tree over the shed. Yeah. The main sensor is doing a great job and not struggling at all. Yes, sir. One more time. Mango tree to the right. Good stuff. Mango tree in the center. Good stuff. And then tree over the shed. Good stuff. All right, let me adjust my grip one time. Okay. And now let's do the tap to focus. Here we go. Tree over the shed, tap, locked up, almost instant and perfectly exposed. That's what you really want to see. Mango tree in front, tap, locked up. Again, instant and perfectly exposed. The main sensor is doing a great job. Tree to the right, tap, locked up. Again, perfectly exposed, nice and fast. Good stuff there. Let's do it one more time. Tree over the shed, tap, locked up. Tree in front, tap, locked up. Tree to the right, tap, locked up. Good stuff indeed. All right, so this just reiterates, if you want the absolute best footage, you definitely want to use the primary camera. But if you want a nice wide field of view, then the ultra wide camera is still pretty solid. It might take a little bit of dialing in, but it's still pretty solid. All right, now to close out the test, we're gonna zoom all the way into that tree in the distance over there, and we're gonna see how the cameras do in 4K with stabilization and detail retention. And this is always a test that I like to do, because this is how you can ultimately see the performance of your cameras. Because ideally, you want it to maintain maximum detail as you zoom through the focal ranges. But ultimately, that's not what happens. After a certain point, the image sensor is just digitally cropping the image. So after a certain point, you basically just start degrading the image. So as you zoom in, you get worse and worse image quality. That's why I always recommend that you don't go past a certain point. And if you still want to get closer to your subject, you just need to physically move closer. But let's see how these cameras perform in 4K at 30 FPS. Let's do this. So let me lock the focus here. Okay, lock it in. Let me dial in the exposure so it's perfect. Let's underexpose it just a touch and then go up a little bit. All right, so that's perfectly exposed right there. Boop, boop. All right. That's perfectly exposed right there. And now, let me go out to the ultra wide. So this is the ultra wide at 0.5 times. And we're gonna slowly zoom in. So zooming in here, 0.7, 0.9. 0.9 times is actually my favorite ultra wide zoom focal length. All right. So this is what I primarily use when I'm shooting ultra wide footage with my ultra wide cameras. I like this. It's wide, but it still gives you a nice cropping frame. Good stuff. Good stuff indeed. So now let's go to the primary sensor. So now we're on the primary sensor at 1 times. Let's go to 1.5. Now we're at 1.5 times. Okay. Let's go up to 2. Now we're at 2 times. And then let's go to max it out. So in 4K, you can max out at 3 times zoom. All right? And you can see what it's doing there when it's all the way maxed out. Okay? It's definitely having some trouble focusing, even though I locked the focus and locked the exposure, still having some trouble. But you can see the detail on here is not that bad. It is kind of washed out, but it's still pretty usable. So not bad. Not bad, Apple. Not bad indeed. All right. So now let's zoom back out. And this concludes the final rear-facing camera test. Now what I'm going to do is, like what I said earlier, I'm going to test the front-facing camera for the final time and give you guys and gals my overall closing thoughts and how I feel about the device in general. And if not, I can recommend it still here in late 2025, moving into early 2026. So give me a little bit. I got to figure out how I'm going to prop up the camera, and I'll be right back with y'all to close out the video. I'll see y'all in a little bit. All right, y'all. So now here it is for the final time. We're testing out the front-facing cameras on the iPhone 12 mini. This is being recorded in 4K at 30 FPS with no external microphone hooked up. So let me know what y'all think of this final vlog style clip here. And let me give y'all my overall final thoughts as to how I feel about the iPhone 12 mini and if it's a device that I can recommend, and more importantly, is it a device that I plan on keeping moving forward? Well, overall, I would have to say I've been using the device for a solid month now, and I just took my SIM card out of it before I shot this final set of clips. And I gotta tell y'all, overall, I absolutely loved the device. All right. Is it perfect? No. It definitely has its shortcomings. The two major ones being the battery life and the speakers. All right. But honestly, that, even though I noticed it, it was never really a big issue. Something just flew in my eye. But I did notice it. So I did end up having to charge this device more than some of my other devices, but I was perfectly fine with that. And I did notice that the speakers on this device were pretty bad. But I'm, for the most part, use Bluetooth, so that speaker issue was not a big issue. And I'm happy to report that this device does actually have a brand new battery in it. So I was actually getting the most optimal battery that I can get out of this device. But overall, due to the size of the device and the size of the battery, the battery life on here is not the best. But ultimately, I still enjoyed the device. And ultimately, as a content creation device, this device is perfect. Even as a work device, this device is perfect. Where this device falls short is if you're going to use it for a bunch of multimedia, you're going to be on it heavy, you're going to do it workhorse style and just, pound it. No, this device won't survive that. But if you're conscientious about what you're doing with the device, again, like if I said, if you use it for work, should be perfectly fine. If you want to use it for content creation, should be perfectly fine. All right? And it is powerful enough to edit videos and all that good stuff on it. Yeah. So perfectly fine for all those things. And I have to say the size of the device is perfect for my hand size, right? I have small hands. So for me, this just reminded me why back in the day, a 5.5 inch device was actually my favorite screen size, because with my size hands and the size of this device, it is perfect. It's perfect for one hand use and it's super pocketable, right? So I really didn't have any issues with the device aside from what I mentioned earlier, being the battery life. We knew it was going to have bad battery life. I knew it when I got it. And the speakers. I always heard that the speakers on here were bad. It was not a big issue for me. But that being said, I did absolutely love this device. And I really enjoyed my time with it. But ultimately, I'm not going to be keeping it. There's a friend of mine that really needs a device. And when you can spread the love, you got to spread the love, man. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to get all the footage off of here. I'm going to factory reset this and I'm going to send it their way. And hopefully they get some really good usage out of it, But ultimately, I really enjoyed my time with the device. And can I recommend you guys and gals pick up this device moving forward in late 2025 and early 2026 and beyond? I would have to say yes. If you're in the market for a mini powerhouse device and you're okay with the shortcomings that comes along with that smaller size, this device should serve you well. And I got to tell you, using this device alongside my iPhone 15 Plus, the cameras on this device are still super solid. Super solid. And I was pleasantly surprised to see that. And it was so funny because using both these devices side by side, I was more apt to reach for this device than I was to reach for my iPhone 15 Plus. And I didn't have to worry about, my image quality is not going to be the best. My photo quality is not going to be the best. My video quality is not going to be the best. No, this took great photos, whether it was in low light or perfect light. It took great video. Yeah, I honestly had no issues aside from the two that I pointed out. And that's why ultimately I can recommend you guys and gals pick up this device if you're in the market for something mini size like this, or you just want to try out these smaller iPhones. It has been a dream of mine for a long time to test out both versions of the iPhone mini. So the 12 mini and the 13 mini. And so I absolutely jumped at the chance to pick up this device for the price that I found it for. And now my time is done. I'm going to pass it on to somebody else, and hopefully they get just as much usage out of it like I did, and hopefully they enjoy it like I did. And hopefully somewhere down the line, I can pick up the 13 mini and run that through its paces. For me, it's not about getting the latest and greatest when it comes out. For me, it's about taking my time, saving up the money, and getting the devices that I want to experience and sharing my experiences and opinions with everyone. And hopefully trying to find everyone, myself included, a great deal along the way. That's what this channel has always been about. Finding the best performing devices and products at the cheapest possible prices. There's no time frame on that. You never really know when you're going to get a good deal. There's no time frame on that. But you need to always keep your eye open so you can jump on a good deal when it comes. All right? But yeah, I'm rambling. Sorry, y'all. I hope everyone had a happy holidays, and I hope everyone had a happy new year. And I hope you guys and gals enjoyed this video and found it helpful. I hope everyone's having a good one out there and staying safe. And I'll catch you guys and gals in the next one. Have a good one. We are out of here. Peace.